What's up, go-getters?
Hey, what's up, gentlemen? How are you?
Yo, welcome to TVP episode 2.
Damn, episode 2 is already here.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
This was an idea 2 months ago.
We were in a coffee shop
Yeah.
on a Sunday afternoon.
Yep. And now we are at Hyde House in their brand new studio. Shout out to Hyde House. Shout out to our girl Ren.
What's her Instagram handle? Give a little. It's like Ren. I don't want to pronounce the name wrong. It's like Ren Quintero or something like that. Something like that.
Sounds about right.
Well,
something
in
really
editing,
exotic and cool.
I'll put it in there. But
Yeah, we can put it in the show notes.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. She's friggin' awesome for letting us use this after hours. Like, this is a resource that not many people are able to have access to on like starting off a podcast. So shout out Ren. Appreciate you.
Yeah, this space is incredible. And Ren is just an incredible person. So
Yeah.
super grateful for it. All right, TVP episode 2. We got somebody else sitting here today. Eddie, welcome.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you, man. I'm going to do your little intro.
Cool.
Try not to get rosy-cheeked here.
Won't blush.
All right, Eddie, the founder and CEO of Outdoor Group Fitness. OGF was founded in 2022 and generates more than $1 million a year in revenue. Eddie is an ex-D1 football player, a veteran of the Coast Guard, and has spoken at multiple major fitness and business events on his journey and on the success of the gym. He's the definition of a go-getter. Eddie is a leader in our community and someone I know we're all proud to call a friend. Between workouts, competitions, and community events, Eddie finds time to spend time with his wife and his 2 dogs, and we're grateful for the opportunity to learn from Eddie today, and every day, for that matter. So, dude, you've been instrumental in establishing the momentum to get this thing started. You're our guest today, but excited that you're going to be a host going forward as well. The questions that you ask and just your insights have been vital in getting us to this point. So thanks for being here, dude.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I think it's so important, like your inner circle is, you guys have heard it, you are who you surround yourself with, but the fact of like, I can call you guys homies, you know, that you guys all bring something different to the table. And it's beautiful that we get to collab here right now. And yeah, going from the coffee shop to the Zoom calls to now this is episode 2, this is exciting. It's really cool. Yeah, it's good to reflect.
One of the ideas that we've talked about that I love is recording our prep meetings. Like, it's not just when we're sitting in front of the mics that we're talking about the topics we're going to cover today. It's like, it's all the time, right? And that's the people we surround ourselves with every day. And it's been so cool.
Dude, I think also too, like being around you guys, just, I know before we go into it, talking to people that make you think and then or go beyond just surface level conversations. I feel like you guys know going day to day, it's always surface level conversations with majority of people, but to dive deeper, I think that's how you build better, not only communities, but relationships and make bigger impact. So sick. Glad to be here.
Right. Yeah. Sweet, man. So yeah, the Vanguard Project episode 2. So episode 1 was just Austin, Matt, and I just bantering, just yapping about random stuff. We're gonna get better at this every time. The visuals are already better, you know. So it's been a fun journey. But guys, our objective, and we're all aligned on this, is to find people that are values oriented, that are in our community in St. Pete and Tampa, that are doing things that no one else is doing, whether that's building businesses, whether that's doing endurance sports. We've got a lot of athletes that have reached out about episode 1, right? So that's so cool. But I think Eddie is like the perfect person to highlight in episode 1 because of some of the things that Outdoor Group Fitness is doing, some of the things that you've done in your past, and we'll talk about your story. But yeah, this is just a perfect segue from just a couple guys sitting in a room talking about their goals and their vision to the purpose of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into it, man. I really want to start with your story, Eddie. Obviously, we've all heard it before, but I think there's so much in it that people can take value from. So start wherever, man. Start in California.
Sure, yeah. I grew up in Northern California, in a small town called Manteca. And it's funny enough, in Spanish, it stands for lard. It's just cows everywhere, cows and fields. And it's a small town outside of Sacramento. Grew up single father, and my parents were divorced early on. And so I lived the majority with my dad. And, for early on age, my dad was just a hard worker. So he's just constantly like waking up early, commuting to work. And for me, like, I kind of had to like learn for my own in a way. He was definitely a tough love on me, like figure it out type of mentality. But early on, I got involved in sports. I mean, I played everything from soccer, basketball, track, you name it. I played it, but found just love in the game of football early on, and it's really shaped who I am. And it took me from all the way through high school and instilled me into college, and then moved to Montana, and I've learned a lot along the way because of my upbringing. And then, man, fast forward from football to the military to here, it's just kind of a whirlwind of stuff. But yeah, that's my California life so far.
Yeah. I'm interested how you landed in St. Pete. Obviously very different than Northern California.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you appreciate about Northern California, and like your journey to get to St. Pete, and things that you appreciate about being here?
Yeah, where I come from, I appreciate the value of, that's where all my family is. So I appreciate when I go there, I feel the love and I feel the support. I grew up, like I told you guys, in a small town, but it wasn't a town where people made it far. I feel like people always say all the time, like, I come from a place where, for me personally, I came from a place where people didn't really leave and become successful or achieve things. Like when I go back home, even though all my family's there, there's still a lot of people who are doing the same thing day to day, working the same jobs, doing the same things they were doing 10 years ago. So for me, it's a good reflection going back home. Northern California, outside of all that, it's still a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Just maybe I don't align with everything there. But man, St. Pete's where it's at. Whatever it is you want to do in life, who you want to be, there's someone out here doing it. And that's what I love the city for. There's so much growth, so much opportunity happening with connections with like-minded individuals, whatever it is, fitness, non-fitness, business, you name it. I think that's how I met you guys, right? We didn't know each other until we all met out here. And I'm very blessed to be in St. Pete. And it's where our gym is at. It's where we settled down. We didn't know anybody before moving here, and now all of our best friends are here. So yeah, everything that's funny actually about St. Pete. I don't know if you guys, I know you're from here. You're not from here.
Nope.
But when people come to visit, like friends or family from out of state, they've never heard of St. Pete. But when they come out here, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's like a vacation out here. This is beautiful. And everyone wants to move here until summer rolls around or the hurricanes.
That's the price you pay. Like if you want to move to this location, there's obviously trade-offs going everywhere.
Gotta be a little tough.
Your price is, hey, you know what? You run the risk. Unfortunately, you run the risk of a hurricane. In this instance too, coming through.
Okay.
But that's why you're here. You're tough.
It'll take more than a hurricane for us to leave.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's been interesting watching St. Pete grow because of people like you. Especially like growing up here, seeing new buildings go up, new enterprises being born. It's really cool.
Bigger companies moving here.
Watch this whole city just blowing up.
You know what I love about here? Nothing's stagnant.
No.
Like it's like, you have stagnant water, and stagnant water is usually like murky, disgusting, smells, usually like they say like disease. But then when you have fresh flowing water, right? It provides nutrients, it's constantly moving. And like here, like nothing's stagnant from real estate to businesses to opportunities to the run club to what you guys are doing. It's outstanding. Yeah. This place is motivating.
Yeah, and then with the influx of bigger businesses coming down here, you got to think how that's going to shape the culture of the city. Because you got to think, I knew someone recently who applied to Foot Locker, and one of their questions in the interview to the hiring authority was, "What do you think the culture is going to be impacted moving from Central New York down to St. Petersburg, Florida?" So you got to think this whole entire culture is going to, kind of change as well.
That's isn't it headquarters for Foot Locker?
Yeah, and that's like the third or fourth Fortune 500 company to move down here in the last couple of years.
Wow.
Opportunity.
And they're all over there off of Gandy, where like Power Design and Jabil, and that's where like the whole office parks are.
Is Valpak?
Valpak's over there.
Because
Yeah.
I was like on 275. They got that giant building out of
Yeah, I cold call Valpak every day. Yeah.
A cold call a day
Yeah.
keeps your boss away.
Sure does. Love her to death. Shout
Yeah.
out.
No, that's interesting though. Like, yes, the businesses are going to shape St. Pete and Tampa, but
Right.
St. Pete and Tampa are going to shape the businesses too. You know,
Exactly.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, I think it's gonna bring a lot more like younger people down here, more hungry people. I don't know. I feel like it'll provide a lot more opportunity too for people that come out of UT and USF. So that's a big thing. Because I mean, the only thing they really got going for them is like what Raymond James and like a couple of these big corporations. So it just keeps adding to the list.
I don't know. You'd be surprised the amount of internships you can bag at the venerable Muma College of Business.
Right.
So, go
For sure.
Bulls.
For sure.
Nice.
What is it? Veteran
Yeah,
Mumba?
I had no clue what you just said.
So venerable is like honorable. I don't know. I'm being facetious.
Okay.
The business college offers a lot of stuff around. That's
Right.
That's off topic.
You're at a
Let's-
different IQ level, man. You said some
Right.
words. I mean,
Venerable.
Well, no.
love that.
No,
I hope that St. Petersburg can turn into a metropolis like, Atlanta, somewhere where I'm from, where, you can go out tomorrow and walk in a high rise and get like a really good paying opportunity. So I really hope St. Petersburg turns out for some of these guys down here. So
Yeah. Just the infrastructure needs work.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Like
Yeah.
I think there'll definitely be plans for infrastructure upgrades. But
I hope.
so
I think it takes smart individuals like ourselves to come together and figure it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's build a bridge. Where's this bridge going? Let's go from St. Pete.
Away from all these finance
We'll
people.
build
up
the
here.
fourth bridge across Tampa Bay. And the only way to get across that bridge is to bear crawl. It's sponsored by OGF.
Well, what's
Slug
weird
push.
is the area we're in right now
Guaranteed
is
no
it's almost like a small Wall Street, because like this is like a finance mecca right here, right? But we're in like Hyde Park, Tampa, Florida. We're like 500, 600, 700 miles away from Wall Street, New York. So it's very strange. I don't know where all this finance came from, but hey, let's add to it.
But hey, before we proceed further, Austin, you're doing a great job so far. You have 0 push-ups.
I'm at least get
15
100
minutes
for me
into this
today.
thing. Yeah. But guys, we have a deal with Austin that any cursing in today's episode yields 10 push-ups. So
Help us keep track.
Yep. Help us keep track. Leave a comment. Keep Austin accountable.
I think if we're gonna hold Austin accountable, it'll be the next episode. So
Yeah.
we let the audience listen. Be like, we'll write it down in the comments, and then we can review it, and we'll be like, but I don't want to say anything other because you're actually doing an awesome job without that. So
Okay.
Keep it up.
Well, I gotta find something to pick on you guys about.
He's looking at me like, bro, I can't believe you brought this up.
tit for tat.
Yeah, man, we got to keep each other accountable. But Eddie, man, I feel like there's so much more in your story.
There is. I don't know where to start.
Yeah, there's so much. Let's break it down. I mean, starting in Northern California, your early life. You talked a little bit about your mom and dad. I'm curious about like how you would describe your relationship with your parents and how you think that's shaped you and the businessman that you are today.
I think the beautiful thing about having both parents in my life, even though they were divorced, they offered me so much in knowledge. Starting with my dad, being a single father. I mean, this guy, he would be up at 3:30 every morning, wouldn't come home till like 7 or 8 p.m. He established the roots of hard work. Like nothing was ever just given to us. And my dad wasn't wealthy by any means. Like he had to work his ass off, excuse me, my language. But it showed me that whatever we wanted in life, whether it have been fitness, my military career, to play college football, only being 5'8" and getting skipped over, like nothing was going to be served on a silver platter. I had to prove myself. And he showed that every day by showing up consistently, no matter if he was tired, if he was fatigued, if he was sick. He had a child to provide for. So that really resonated with me early on. In fact, I remember one time, I think it was maybe 5th grade, my dad told me, he was like, I don't know how we're going to make it this month. And I remember just like we ate beans for like a week straight, beans and hot dogs. We figured it out. He figured it out. And yeah, I am who I am because of a lot of him. And then my mom on the other side, they divorced early on. So my parents got divorced when I was like 1, but my mom was still always in my life. But my mom, she remarried and had 2 other kids. But one thing my mom always did so well is show love and empathy as a mother would. So she always found ways to make me feel special, make me feel included. However, not living with her full time sometimes almost like I was living through a window sometimes, because she had kids after me and she had them full time with a husband, and he's amazing. But she was able to really provide that consistently with them. Whereas for me, it was like when I would go see my mom, but other than that, if I'm not with my mom, I only got it from a distance. So for me, like I've always, I guess, chased like wanting to be around good, loving people, like being around good, cultured people, and whether it be family or good friends. It's always been important to me because I didn't really have that so much when I was growing up. But yeah, I mean, because of them, I am who I am today, and I love people, but also love hard work even more. And I have to be around people who are wanting to put the same effort into things. And it's been evident through everything. Because of my parents, I feel as if, like you guys wouldn't be who you are today without them. So
For sure.
yeah,
It sounds like you got like this hard work, this grit from your dad, and then you got like your love and your care for people from your mom,
exactly.
which is so cool to see like both of those intertwined in like what you're doing at OGF, but just the way you interact with your community too.
100%.
So recalling from your California days, because I know you stayed there. How long did you? It was a little while.
I was 20 years old when I left California.
Okay, so
Then I ended up moving back. But
and then did you see the same people?
Yeah. So I left California at 20 years old. I got a full ride scholarship to play football.
Yeah.
So I left to Montana, and I did my time out there. And I was fortunate enough, like, man, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Montana. I know we talked about Montana a little bit. Montana, beautiful state. They say it's God's country. Had the opportunity to take this kid from a farm town, then move him to the mountains in Montana, and man, like playing football out there, and dude, that was the experience.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, after football, I did move back to California eventually, but to Southern California, San Diego, where San Diego is a total different vibe from Northern California.
So I'll just sum it up like from your time North California,
Yeah.
Montana, and then San Diego. Who had more influence on you, your outside mentors, like the mentors that weren't family, or your mom and your dad? Because, I mean, obviously you had mentors outside. I don't want to assume, but I'm assuming that you had mentors on the outside too.
Yeah. Dude, man, I've had some great people. I've been fortunate enough to be put in some very great opportunities to learn from certain individuals. I have a couple football coaches that definitely stand out. But I will say, like, I started work. You guys know me. I love fitness, right? At the gym, it's my passion. I started working out in 5th grade. I had this football coach, and he was like hardcore, like old style strength conditioning coach. But we used to work out in his garage, and we would do like 7 p.m. workouts. But it was the most ruggedy, rusted out equipment. Like, I remember we would be doing box jumps, and we didn't have boxes. We had milk crates, so you'd be doing box jumps on milk crates. But you learn to like adapt to the environment, and you don't need all the fancy things to become successful. You just need to, once again, put the hard work in. And man, like, I've had some great life lessons along the way. I mean, I'm 29 years, but I feel like I've lived like 100 years. But yeah, it started really early on with one of my football coaches, man, like being in the garage. And like, I trained at the time, we started in 5th grade, but we trained with him all the way throughout until I went to college. And at the time, I was training with some of the best running backs in California, some of the best athletes. But me always being undersized, he could have easily said, like, you're not going to make it far. I'm going to spend time on these better athletes. But because I was undersized, he believed in me because I showed up so much. And because of that, I mean, I'm a kid who was 5'8", kind of fast, kind of smart. But I was able to put the work in to get a full ride scholarship and go play football. But man, like, I think who I am has just been a mixture of all the life experiences I've had, whether it's coaches, family members, military, like chiefs, things like that. I have a lot of people. So I can't point to one person in particular.
Sounds like that coach was pretty pivotal. Just that
the
first
time.
person,
Yeah, at the
maybe
time.
outside of your dad, that
Yeah.
like believed in you
Yeah.
and let you
100%.
know.
Mm-hmm.
I think only way that people are going to believe in us, though, is if we, like, prove ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, if I didn't show up to his garage, even at an early age, like, would he have believed in me?
You gotta do the basics.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself first.
Same thing with business. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way my partners or even my own wife, who supported me from the early on in the park days, would have held on and showed up every single day if I wasn't showing up every single day.
Yeah.
So yeah, early on, like, I would say, like, this goes for all of us, but finding a purpose early on was super easy for me. Whether it been my dad telling me, I don't know how we're gonna make it this month, and we're eating hot dogs and beans, and me telling myself, like, this is not gonna be our future, or for coaches overlooking me for my height and letting them not their opinion dictate where I go, and or same thing with the business. Like, people said there's no way an outdoor gym could work, and those are the same people who are now members of the gym. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still eat hot dogs and beans, or are those none of those?
I'll eat some beans, but no. It's too what's it?
Sugar?
Highly processed.
Oh.
Okay. All right. It's
A
for
different-
it's for health
we got a
reasons.
different budget now.
Yeah.
You save it to
No more
expand.
glizzies. Yeah. No more glizzies and beans.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
What about you guys? Like, tell me about yourselves. Is this a good time to chat about you guys?
Yeah.
Just flipping it on us.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
so.
I feel like
Shit.
start with you, Caleb.
Okay.
What made you want to ask that question?
If you still eat hot dogs and beans,
No, come back,
I personally
go
love
back to your
hot dogs.
parents.
yeah. I mean, I'll do a brief synopsis. From Missouri, St. Louis, born and raised. Lived in Missouri all my life. Went to college in Missouri. Graduated college. Went to grad school in Missouri. Moved to Kansas City in Missouri. So I was in Missouri. So it wasn't until I was 25 years old that I left Missouri. So Missouri has really shaped who I am. You know, it's so different from Florida. But yeah, man, I was raised, middle class family in St. Louis. Went to a private Christian high school, actually, which was pretty pivotal. At the time, I pushed back on that. I was super anti-authority. And so being like, I thought it was a bubble, right? And I was kind of the anti-Christian at my high school. I don't think it was like, it wasn't like disdain or like a true lack of faith, but rather it was like my own reaction to authority and somebody telling me like, this is what you have to believe.
Yeah.
Like it had nothing to do with my faith. It was really like my reaction to authority.
Right.
So, that kind of honestly was the trend throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, college. Like I was a troublemaker all the way up until, I don't know, junior year of college. I actually I started at Mizzou, and I was the life of the party. I always brought the energy. People always told me like, you're a natural leader. You have to lead people in positive ways. And I didn't, and ended up getting in trouble, getting kicked out of Mizzou. I switched over to Missouri State, and that's when things kind of changed. I don't know what clicked. I can't point to like a certain mentor or thing that happened in my life. It's probably just brain development. Like,
Do you think you found purpose?
Yeah, I think I did. And similar to you, I think it started in the gym. It really did. I actually started a blog at the end of last year where I talked about that, like how finding purpose in the gym allows you to apply some of those same principles to the rest of your life.
You're building yourself.
Exactly. It's those little things. It's getting up early, going to the gym, even if it's a lame workout, like you're still building yourself, you're working on yourself, you're prioritizing things, and you start to learn values. You start to learn taking care of yourself. You're spotting people at the gym. You start to learn about helping other people also achieve their goals. You start setting goals. Like I want to bench 225 by the end of this year. Oh, I can set goals in other areas of my life too, And so it really started there. And then I started applying it to academics and started to see some success. And that carried over into my early career. Traveled the world for work. Eddie, we
How
were
many
just talking about
countries?
this. 9 countries in 2023.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was wild, and that became like a huge part of my identity.
Some people don't even see 9 countries their entire life.
Yeah.
And you do that in 1 year.
Absolutely blessed. And you know, I'm sure people look at me and they're like, "Wow, you figured it out. That's so cool." But dude, it was all so unintentional. Like, I'm intentional about my goals and the things that I want to do, but my journey through my early career and that taking me to San Diego and Hawaii and then Korea and Guam and Japan, all of these places was luck of the draw. Like, I was doing the right things, right place, right time for sure. But I just feel so blessed by God that I landed in those places and got to see all those countries last year. Cause you know, a lot of it was not out of my own pocket. It was truly a blessing. And it really taught me that being, like we were talking about how travel impacts your mindset and your perspective of the world. Like, you get so caught up in your own bubble and you think this is the way that the world works.
Yep.
And then you step out of your own country and you see other tribes, other communities, and you're like, whoa, there's so many different perspectives and languages and foods and
And you think
history.
my problems are so irrelevant to the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes you feel small, but it makes the world feel small, or so big, but it also makes the world feel really small
Yeah.
because you find similarities with people.
Human interaction. We're not all too far from the tree we fell out of, you know? I think it's awesome, dude. I
Yeah.
think it's crazy. You know what's crazy is like we talk about purpose, and I feel like that's one of the things, like we talked about purpose for this podcast. As like as men, we have to have purpose. As humans, we need purpose. But for you to, I guess, like grow up and kind of be like mischievous in a way, or kind of like rambunctious, but from there to kind of figure it out, and you could have been put in that seat. You said kind of like a little bit of luck. You could have been put in that seat and still messed up, but you got your stuff together and you locked in, and I'm sure you have countless stories to share because of all the things you've done so far. But now you're a project manager, right?
Yep.
That's pretty crazy.
Yep. I do have a day job. I forget about it sometimes. No, my day job's important to me. You know, I'm not super passionate about what I do like you are. Like the gym, you're super passionate about it, which is cool. And a goal of mine is to find that thing where I can do what I love and be paid for it. You know, that's what everybody's looking for.
Right.
But I find passion in showing up and being the best that I can be every day, and like serving my coworkers and my clients.
Yeah, I feel like we can speak more on that later in a later topic because I want to hear
Sure.
about you too. But I feel
Yeah,
like for
definitely.
me now, the gym is definitely my passion, but I don't think it's my purpose. But we can talk more about that after. What about you guys?
That's interesting.
It's Austin, you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Hey everyone, my name's Austin.
What's up, Austin?
Hey, how are you?
Hey. No, I grew up in a good household. It was my mom, my dad, and I never really had any outside family rather than that. There was a lot of brokenness. Parents divorced when I was 13. My dad never had
Same.
a father. So his way of being a father is a little bit non-traditional, but we still love him. My mom was always the home of the house. I grew up in a household where my mom didn't have to work. So that's kind of been my model, and that's why I work so hard every single day. So the person that I can grow up and take care of doesn't have to work because I want them to take care of the house. So that's the kind of model I grew up with. Mom was always there for sporting events, stuff like that. Dad was always at work. Dad was an entrepreneur, so Dad never came home and complained about his boss because he was the boss. So that's kind of where I get the I hate authority. I think that's why. It's because my dad was always the boss. So therefore, I tend to operate the same way. But grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I actually went to a private school as well up until high school. I've actually never met a kid who went to private high school that made it out on the other side. All the kids I grew up with who went to private high school are weird now, or they're real estate agents, or they work for their families, or drug addicts. So it's very nice to see someone who went to private high school who didn't go to college and go balls to the wall and end up in rehab.
Good job,
I'm
Caleb.
flattered, man.
Yeah, so you're actually a normie. But no, I went to a private high school, and I'm really actually glad I did, because I was in that suit and tie, chapel every Wednesday, kind of mentality, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. And I don't think I would have a relationship with God now if I stayed in that. So public high school was a charter high school. We were bused in from all different sides of Atlanta. I grew up in Metro Atlanta. So these kids were from east, south, west, north, and south side. So there was 4 different counties that made up my school. So there was a whole different, diverse conglomerate of us, which made it interesting for me in my high school years. I got into some drug use and, figuring out how I can make money off of selling those drugs. So, it got me into some trouble. I did go to college out of high school. That lasted about a year and a half, and I moved back to the city. Got into some more trouble, learned things the hard way. Started working a full-time job out of college and kind of just quit going to school. Ended up missing classes so I could go make money, and moved out when I was about 19, making $12 an hour. And now I'm sitting down here in St. Pete. I got everything I want. I have a job. I have a girl that I met at Eddie's gym. I got all my friends I met at Eddie's gym too.
Yeah, man.
I've had pretty crazy life. I think about that all the time. Sometimes I walk into Publix and, walking in knowing I can buy whatever I want in the store. And, years ago it wasn't like that. Years ago I was doing things that, weren't the best for me. I used to be an avid partier as well. My favorite type of weed was cocaine. Coming out of all of that, and then now looking at my life is like freaking wild. I used to chase the thrill of, being the life of the party on the weekends and, catching that buzz on a Friday, making sure I had all the party favors I needed to, get through the weekend. Spent a lot of money, spent a lot of time, caused my parents a lot of stress and a lot of turmoil. And so, like, reflecting back on that is pretty wild because, I could have been a fucking, sorry, here's 10 push-ups.
10 push-ups.
I could have been a fucking loser. Here I am 29 now. And trust me, I know a handful of people that, never left where they grew up from and, still doing the same thing 10 years ago. And so, yeah, it's kind of my life story in a nutshell. I'm grateful to be here, but
I'm grateful you're here too, man.
I think I got the work ethic from my dad, and I got the empathy from my mom a lot like Eddie as well, because my dad always operated no matter what at 110%. He still does, even though he doesn't have to. He calls it a game. He's an entrepreneur. I mean, he's got businesses that if he were to pass tomorrow, they would just go under because no one knows how to run them except him. Like he's everything. So that's definitely where I get it from. As weird as our relationship is to other people, my dad and I's, because a lot of even like my significant other thinks it's sometimes like our conversations between him and I are just awkward, but we're different. We have a different dynamic of a relationship, and even though it is different, like I do know that he loves me, and that he does have my best interest. He's always someone I go to talk about plans of the future, and like if I'm feeling down on myself or if I'm in a rough patch, he always kind of talks me through that, because a lot of the things that I go through right now in my life, he's gone through, especially as someone who's such a high performer like he is. And then my mom is definitely the nurturer. Always does things for other people, always has, and puts everyone above herself. I mean, she really does, and she has my entire life. So that's kind of where I get that from. But yeah, I mean, they've both played different roles in my life, and you don't realize the roles your parents play in your life until you grow up.
Absolutely.
And you appreciate them the most when you need them the least. And so like I'm at that point now where like I appreciate them the most, but you know, I'll go home and even my mom's like, you know, she gets sad because she's like, you don't need me right now in your life. Like you don't need me. She's like, you're doing your own thing. Like you're living your life. Like I can see how happy, you know, your new profound life like makes you. Like you don't need me right now. And like and they know that, and it's sad for them to watch, but I mean it is true. So
Yeah. Yeah, my parents are going through the same thing right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm very far away from Missouri, you know, and it's now it's been 4 years, 5 years of being away from there, and you know they're starting to realize like, all right, he's entering a new phase. He's on his own, but there's got to be like pride from parents in like seeing you succeed too. Like although it's emotional and it's sad, like they're so damn proud of you.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing you always like, you know, have to remind yourself is you know, it's that dopamine rush. It's almost like we were talking like, you know, you're zen and I'm not. Like you get the same dopamine from a zen that I do from not doing it. Right?
Yeah, sure.
So like, yeah, it's just something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
He's been preparing.
Yeah, but he's thinking through it.
Yeah, I can relate to all three. My parents have been together my whole life, so that's a very big privilege I've had. I grew up well off. You know, there was not really any nights where I had to eat beans and hot dogs, and you know, I'm very thankful for that. But what I have learned is the amount of work it takes to get to that point where it's like you can buy whatever you want in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my dad is an immigrant. He's from Belize, from Central America. He tells me stories about his life before he immigrated here, and I mean, I really don't understand how he got here. It's crazy because I see pictures of him back in 70, 80, like where he's on a farm. Poverty, complete poverty. Like he tells me stories about he went to school and as he's walking to school, he sees families and they have houses and they don't have floors. Like they're just wood shacks over dirt. So, you know, I am very thankful for how the way I guess my parental unit, it's the really like robotic way to say it, but the way my parents, like the parents I was gifted, like they're a gift because I've been okay. Like there's obviously been fights, but they've been together, and I've had that dynamic of nature and nurture, like that everyone was describing. It's just been in my life like constantly. But growing up, I didn't really like. I took it for granted because I do think like you're talking about silver spoon kids, like myself, especially myself, take their positions in life for granted growing up because they don't have to worry about what food is going to be on the table. I don't have to worry. They have the ability and privilege to refuse food, like refuse things because they don't. It's like I don't like it. I don't want it.
I don't want those green beans.
I don't want.
If
those,
I didn't eat dinner with my mom, I wouldn't eat.
Yeah, like I did that.
If I didn't like dinner, if she put something in front of me that I didn't want, I wouldn't eat. She'd be like, "All right, well, I'm not making anything else."
Yeah, I mean, it kind of went like that, but you know, you can when everyone's asleep, you can go into the cabinet, it's full. Yeah. So growing up, like that's kind of the way that I approached life, and I did eventually start to suffer for it. So I did the rehab thing, but I did it before college, so I didn't go to college. Well, didn't go yet, but I coming out of high school, you know, I was I'm very another thing I'm very grateful for is I have parents that didn't give up on me, because sometimes that happens. Like I wasn't like a troublemaker like law, but I was stuck in my head, like antisocial. I smoked a lot of weed. gained a crap ton of weight. And I had a stint where it's like I got sent off to a wilderness program, a boarding school, and they thought I was like finally doing better because of it. And then I come back home and it falls apart again.
Same environment.
Yep.
And that's nail on the head right there. It's the same environment. So, and I don't think that's anybody's fault but my own, honestly. I can't, like, looking back on it, I love to blame people for my situation, but there's no one, they didn't make you isolate in your room. They didn't make you do drugs. They didn't make you do any of that. So I come home and then I go to rehab before school, or after high school, and then COVID hit, and then before I went back to community college, I went to rehab. And I will remember this moment for the rest of my life. And I think this is the moment where it switched. I broke a person's eggs that was in the refrigerator. And I went about like 3 days saying I didn't do it because that's how I could get away with that. Like, I was fine getting away with that. And nothing happened to me. So they figured it out that I broke the eggs, and I was sat in a circle with 15 grown men, like that went down the path that I was going down. And I was just like, they just tore into me. There's this guy named Mike, and I remember he was shaped like a bowling ball. And the dude, like, just absolutely ripped me. And I'll remember it for the rest of my life. I don't know what in me, like, made me change or something like that, but it didn't happen overnight. But the increments of, like, okay, you're 18 years old, you got to wake up. You got to take a little bit of responsibility.
Your decisions have an impact on other people.
Your decisions have consequences, and they're not like the go to your room consequences. They're like consequences of your life. And
you're going to be confronted by 15 grown men type consequences.
Yes,
One
exactly.
like a bowling ball.
Yes.
Shit, that's scary. Dude.
No, but
Him alone.
They were all like, it was a very, like, I don't want to say peaceful, but it was like the therapist that set it up did it in the way where it's like they can nail into me, but there's like,
that's insane.
It's like it was. I'm thankful for it. Like, not in the moment, but definitely afterwards.
Yeah.
That it definitely changed my life. So I get out of rehab, and then I'm like, okay, I don't really like the way I look, but if I'm gonna be like this, if I'm gonna be an adult, if I'm gonna be responsible for my own actions and realizing that life is what you put into it. Okay, let's just start working out.
Yeah.
So I was working as a transporter at the hospital, and every day for lunch, every day, like if I worked a shift that had lunch and dinner, every day I would go in there, I'd get grilled chicken breast, I would get protein yogurt, and I would have brown rice, and I would just eat that. And it's like, you know what? I started to see in the mirror, as much as I appreciate the praise that I get from other people, like for me, seeing that face go down was awesome. It's like, okay, life is actually what you put into it. Life, what you want to become, you have to act like it. So I think along those lines is where, like, work ethic, like we were talking about, kind of inspired. I do have to attribute it to my father, like, work, like, just straight grit, just straight, like, he managed to get from Belize to the University of New Orleans to LSU medical school. And it's like, yeah, like if you can do that with the personality, the genes that he has, I could do it just as well. So definitely have to give credit to them for, like, providing that example for me throughout my life. But that's the reason why I asked the question, like, who outside of your family inspired you the most? And that's like, I have to give it to the guys that literally sat and yelled at me.
That's cool.
Like,
yeah, like I have to.
Mine was, man, yours is a lot better than mine. I remember sitting on my bed eating a pizza, and then I was in front of a judge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember a cop waking me up saying, and it was crazy. The cop woke me up and he goes, I just want to make sure you're alive. He's like, you got court in like 3 minutes. And I'm like, what time is it? It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't even know what jail it was at. Yeah. Cop looked at me and he was like, if you don't bail out today, I'm changing everything to a felony. And I was like, all right, like this is my 4th time. Like, all right, we gotta get the hell out of here.
But I think wherever along the way, like there's a moment for you too.
Yeah.
That, like the switch flipped, and I have to be thankful for it. I think
Got to.
obviously I put in the work, but it's like I wouldn't have been at the point where I wanted to put in the work unless I got sat down by that. So yeah, so I appreciate all the people sending us messages and everything like that. And if you wondered where I went after high school, that's where I went.
He's in good hands.
So yeah. So
Spilling the beans.
So yeah, that's I guess that's my little background kind of story.
It's such a good story, man. It's crazy that both of you gained some weight and went to rehab and had these troubles, and then something happened.
Yeah.
For you, it was breaking eggs and lying about it. For you,
Yeah, you don't really get that hungry when you're snorting blow all the time. My appetite came back.
yeah.
But
For you,
Yeah,
rehab as
and
well.
it's definitely caused like some long-term issues for me. Like driving at night, it's not easy for me. Now I gotta drive home at night tonight, but I mean stuff like that is not easy for me. Sometimes waking up, like it's a lot of reason why I don't like to drink that much anymore, because a lot of that was contributed to like a blackout. So like I don't like to wake up in places I don't know where I'm at. So I mean it has caused some ripple effects in my life. So unfortunately, that is what it is.
That's back to your decisions have consequences.
Yeah.
We all learn that in different ways. But yeah, man, transition for me, getting kicked out of college, the 3 of us, we were very mischievous.
yeah.
Eddie, it seems like you've been kind of on the straight and narrow your whole life. I'm sure there's.
It's like a layup.
Yeah. What's that moment in your life where
Or I
you
messed
fell
up.
short or you messed up and you learned the consequences of decisions?
Dude, I feel like I'm kind of opposite of you guys. Like I grew up, maybe because my dad was so stern, so I was always like, I have to be perfect. Like whether it be sports, I have to be perfect for sports, or school is okay. But yeah, when I was in the military, so after I graduated college and I was lacking purpose, I worked a corporate job. And like similar to you guys, I had my own weight gain story. So I didn't have purpose. I was working this office job, and I ended up gaining like 15 to 20 pounds. It was the type of job where every Friday they brought donuts and bagels, and it's kind of sad that was my highlight of the week when it was donut day. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I really just hated that job, so I decided to join the military. I know you guys kind of heard the story multiple times, but I pretty much made a complete 180. I decided to leave my job. I had a house at the time. I got rid of the house, and I packed my bag and car and moved in with my girlfriend, now my wife, and I pursued the military. I figured I wanted to do something special. I missed the team aspect from sports. I missed the competitiveness. I missed having the bigger purpose beyond myself or just a paycheck. So with football, it instilled all these great things in me that I needed to take it to something else. So I ended up joining the Coast Guard. I went in as a rescue swimmer. That was my goal, to jump out of helicopters and save people. And the only reason I chose that job, amazing. Only reason I chose that job is because I looked up what are the hardest jobs to join in the military. I wanted that. I wanted that thing. So I ended up joining the rescue swimmer program, but the thing is I didn't know how to swim, so I taught myself how to swim at an LA Fitness pool. It took me like 6 months. Anyways, I ended up joining in February of 2020. I lost a bunch of weight, got really good shape. I graduated with honors from boot camp. I graduated top of my class, and I won 2 awards, the physical fitness award and the best shipmate award. So physical fitness wise, I led everything. And then for the best shipmate, that's an award they give to members. And it's all based upon your team's vote. So my team voted me as like the best shipmate. So there's like 130 of us, which was an honor. I ended up transferring to South Beach, Florida. I was stationed out there. I don't know if you guys have ever been to South Beach, but it's a madhouse. Yeah. lived right on the water. Beautiful setup. My wife and I were very fortunate. Lived in a beautiful area, but I got comfortable. I think it was the first time in my life I like let my foot off the gas. I got comfortable in my job, my position. I thought I was on top of the world living on South Beach. You know, I thought this is as big as it gets. And I was hanging around people who were living that South Beach life, who had money, you know, whether it be yachts, sports cars, nice penthouses. I got intertwined with those people. And I guess maybe because I was around them so much, I thought I was a hot shot. Nothing to prove. Well, I ended up getting so comfortable. One night, I ended up hanging out with the wrong people. Ended up smoking some weed, and unfortunately, like things turned where the person I smoked weed with also happened to be in the military, and then he got caught on base with some cocaine, which I had no part in, but he got caught with some cocaine, and it led to his phone being traced to me, and ended up getting kicked out of the military. I ended up, you know, having this job where I thought I was on top of the world, that I trained so hard for, and I gave purpose and time. I lost a bunch of weight, taught myself how to swim. This was my main thing, but outside of my family, you know, my wife. And speaking of my wife, she sacrificed everything to follow me in my dream. But when I did get caught, it was the moment, kind of like you and your intervention. I had like 6 people in the room. My 6 people weren't friends, but they were high commanders in the military, very decorative, you know, good looking uniforms. They all brought me into this small room, probably just like this. Everyone was standing at center of attention, and they told me, Seaman Smith, unfortunately, you tested positive for THC. And at that point, they read me my rights, but I zoned out because I just realized like everything I sacrificed is gone because of my wrongdoing. And then having to then explain it to my wife, to my family, to the people who were counting on me, they believed in me. I was motivating, inspiring people to try to go for this goal, and for all that to be thrown away. It was one of the hardest things at that time of my life, but you know, whether it be God or chance or karma, everything happens for a reason. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here today.
Yep. So. Yeah, I was gonna ask, when you look back on that, like obviously that's devastating. Yeah. When you're in that's really hard. But when you look back, is it a regret, or is it you've changed your mindset and you're like, that moment is the reason that I'm here today, and there's almost a gratitude for it.
I mean, I don't live with regret. It would have been nice to fulfill that and actually see it accomplished. I think a lot of times, I'm sure you guys might have been guilty, but how many times do we start something to never actually see it follow through? Mm-hmm. And for me, not to see something that big in my life actually like go to the end, it hurts. However, I think I took that same purpose and passion and work ethic that I applied to like everything, but specifically the military. I used that as fuel to not let that be the end of my story. I don't want to have all that stuff just to have it end there. I use that fuel and that passion. Okay, like I have to make a bigger comeback story. I remember when I was getting kicked out. Everything in the military happens so slow. By the way, like if you're ever in the military,
yeah,
there's a saying. It's like hurry up and wait.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you're gonna get kicked out in 4 months. So I had 4 months to pretty much just figure out like what are we doing. But one of the things that like really like I would do this all the time. I would Google like people who got kicked out the military yet became successful. People who got kicked out the military yet started a job or a company, whatever. Like who else was out there that I could latch on to and like I'm gonna be like that person. And there wasn't much stuff that I could find in that. But I realized like if there isn't someone out there like that, well, let me be that person.
Right.
Let me be that person that unfortunately got kicked out, but turned it around 360 and make something of myself. So that's always been my driving factor. And because of the situation, this is why I'm here today.
I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
Thankful it landed you here. That's obviously it's kind of a bummer. Like when you talk about the military, that's like the most defining thing. You went and did this crazy cool thing, jumping out of helicopters and being a rescue swimmer. And when you talk about it, like it's so hard for that not to be like the subject of what you talk about. So I'm curious, like, what are some other experiences or what are things that you learned throughout your time in the military? What's like the one thing that stands out?
Dude, the one thing is holding a certain standard. I don't want that to be an easy answer, but the military preaches one thing, and that's hold a standard, do things of excellence all the time. And it's in everything. But the result of doing things at a high standard all the time is you're saving lives. If I approach as a rescue swimmer, if you approach your job as half-ass, a little bit lazy, I'm a little tired today, so I'm maybe not going to do all the steps needed to excel on a rescue or load up the helicopter and have all my equipment ready to go. If I take off one step, that's a chance increase of someone dying or not being saved. So when we say approach a high standard, the military aims for perfection because you are side by side on somebody and their life depends on you. Mm-hmm. And for the military to have millions and millions of troops, strangers in a way, but for you to trust in that stranger, it's because you're trusting in that job and you know they're showing up with high excellence. And for that one time in my career at the military, I did not show up with a standard of excellence. I didn't hold a high standard, and because of that, the military had to part ways. And I learned a lesson, but I also think that's why I approach everything. Like, you could ask my team, I hold everybody to a high standard at OGF, whether it's down to the team or down to the members, is because at the end of the day, when the standard drops, what other consequences follow? And I wouldn't want what I have experienced in the military to be any more aspects of my life or my business, or I wouldn't want any members to experience whatever their below standard may be.
Right. The hard part of a standard, I think, is consistency. You know, you set the standard, obviously, by definition, like it continues. You're always held to that level. But when you're trying to live up to that standard every single day, even when you're sick or you're tired or you're lazy, you know, I think consistency is one of the most important things in being successful.
Well, what do they say? It's simple. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Right.
It's not easy waking up early every day. It's not easy staying up late or driving like you always have to do. But you know, like success is it's not something that we don't have to recreate it. Like, there's so many successful people and they leave trails, and it's up to us to follow those trails and learn for ourselves. Mm-hmm. Dude, at the end of the day, like whatever it is we want to approach, I think holding that standard, it magnifies. And I think this is the way I look at it. That's what gets me going. Some of the most successful people in the world, love them or hate them, Donald Trump, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, the list can go on in any industry we look at. The reason they're so successful is because they've been consistent over and over and over and over for decades on end. You know how hard that is to do? Like, I've been in my business for 2 years and showing up every day. You have people 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, but to be relevant. So I think at the end of the day, like, we don't have to prove it to anyone else. It's just to ourselves and what our purpose is. But I happen to find my purpose through failure, which is getting kicked out of the military, to realize, like, my purpose is beyond the military. It's to help inspire and change lives. Right now, it's the gym. That's my vehicle, my vessel.
Right.
But a couple years from now, I hope for it to be a little bit more than just the gym. Mm-hmm. And it will be.
Yeah.
So we've all heard this story of, you know, you leave the military, move to St. Pete, you're training people in the park, you know, dumbbells in the trunk.
Yeah.
I think probably every person at OGF knows this story, you know,
Maybe.
like it's your guiding light when people ask you.
Either I'm telling them or I don't know what it is. I try not to lead with that at all.
Yeah, but so then you had a vision and you got some momentum and you turned it into what Outdoor Group Fitness is today.
I mean, not that fast. Like, I got booted out of the military. I had 4 months to figure it out. I just knew I had a gift, and that gift was I was good with people. I was also gifted at fitness. Like, that was my passion. So like, people in fitness, I put it together. I got a job as a trainer making $15 per hour. Shout out to Burn Boot Camp. And then I quit 4 months later because I realized I could do it a lot better myself. So I was, not to take this story in a different tangent, but when my wife and I first moved to St. Pete, for the first like 5 months, we hated it. I mean, we started this podcast talking how great St. Pete is. I didn't see that about St. Pete in the beginning. St. Pete to me was like, there's nothing happening here. But I also realized it was the environment I was in. I was working at a gym that it wasn't ran the best, and the culture there didn't really fit who I was. So my wife and I decided, all right, we need to make as much money as possible so we can move back to California. St. Pete's not where it's at. I quit the training job, and I got a job as a server at a restaurant. I went from college degree, football player to military to I'm serving tables.
Fun fact, I knew Eddie when he was serving tables.
Yeah.
Every Saturday.
No way.
Sorry,
and
bro. I
Jen.
can't hang out. I got to go work at the restaurant.
Yeah, every Saturday night, him and Jen.
Yep.
You guys worked at the same restaurant?
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
It was cool. But, I mean, her and I worked at the restaurant at night, worked at the gym in the morning, trying to teach classes and sell memberships. But, dude, I realized, like, we need to make as much money as possible. So I started serving. And the job that I did quit, I had members reach out to me saying that they're still interested in training. So I was like, well, I got some bands and a pair of dumbbells. I could take you to the park. So I started taking her to the park, and then I started getting some traction, like 1 to 2, then 2 to 3 people. So I was like, you know what? What if I posted up at the park across the street from the gym that I used to train at? Let's do that. So that's where like all the members would leave that gym and come train with me. Next thing you know, I got like 30 people in a park. But I had this vision of like, dang, like if people are training outside now, like people see us when they drive by or walk by in the park. Most gyms are stuck inside, and COVID just passed like a year prior. So I'm like, dude, let me bring outdoors to like a commercial gym, and that's where OGF formed in my head at the park. And then boom, 3 years later, here we are.
And it's seen so much success.
It's gotten there, yeah.
You were on a podcast recently. Amazing listen. What's the podcast called again?
It's called the GSD Show.
GSD Show. Yeah. It's a good lesson. I
Great
learned a lot
podcast.
about you from that. And you talk about some of the things that differentiate you. And I think that's really important when looking at businesses and what makes in the fitness industry for sure, but for all businesses.
Everything.
So I'm wondering if you could just tell us more about what do you think differentiates Outdoor Group Fitness that has made it so successful in just 2 years?
Outside the fact that we're outside, everybody and their moms can see us when they drive by. It's having a culture of caring. Dude, customer service is a dying breed now. When's the last time you guys been to Chipotle and it's like might as well just have a robot there taking my order, or I might as well make it myself.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, you go places and it's just, once again, like it's surface level conversations. They make you feel like they really don't care. It's just a transactional thing. For us, we are in the service industry and we're here to change lives. And the only way where our company can change lives is if we know who you are. So what makes us different is the fact that we take the time and actually get to know our members. What's their why? Why are they doing this? That's beyond just looking good, right? Some people have kids. Some people have, they've never felt confidence in their life. Some people have had traumatic moments in their life happen. So for us, we want to know that why, and we want to know, where do you want to go? What's your goal? And it's going to be our mission to help you get to where you want to go. So it's like, no matter who it is, when you walk to OGF, our team's going to yell your name from the car. They're going to support you, uplift you, high five you, challenge you. We just care, dude. And I feel like a lot of places don't care anymore. And customer service or customer experience will get you a lot further if you just love what you're doing. And then lastly, finding people to OGF. We have a team of people who just love what they do. They wake. I mean, you guys all know firsthand. Our team shows up ready to rock and roll and change lives. And
Oh yeah.
it's so important having the right people.
And I feel like that's a job for you in itself, to cultivate an environment where high performing individuals like that want to stay. I mean, I've been told that before by bosses I've had, like, hey, like I have to make this the best place so people like you don't leave. So that's a job in itself.
100%.
So one of the challenges you mentioned earlier was hiring talent that meets your core values. So, and you're so good at asking questions. What are those questions, or what are those things that you look for when you're hiring for values? Because I'm sure you have so many lessons learned from that.
Dude, a lot. But the first one is like, I think this goes for relationships in general. but hire slow, fire fast. And this goes for relationships too.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like a team member might have a great resume. They might interview really well in that first one. They might come to a session and they might be doing the right things. However, I haven't seen them in different seasons yet. I haven't seen them when they're mad. I haven't seen them when they're sad, when they're frustrated, when things are going wrong. So for us, like when we bring someone in, a potential candidate for a coach, for example, we won't hire them right away. In fact, we won't even conclude an interview until you've done at least a month of sessions. I want to see how you interact with my community. I want to see, like, if you want this job bad enough, are you willing to show up? Nothing's guaranteed. I want to see if you keep coming back with that same energy, that same enthusiasm, or was it a facade, or was it a one-time thing? So for us, like, we definitely have to take our time, because in the past we've been so quick to hire based upon that good-looking resume or the way they, came with a smile, and it's bit us in the back. It's bit us in the butt in the long term. It's one thing to hire people, but to manage people and make sure they're a right fit long term, that's definitely a big challenge. But man, thank goodness we found the right people along the way. And also hiring people who are smarter than me. Like, you should hear my team when they're talking and conversating. Man, like, I am, like, that saying, like, be the dumbest person in the room. Like, thank goodness I have them. I have the vision. They help put that vision into a plan. So there's a lot of things there, but ultimately just finding the right people.
Yeah.
You need the right people who believe in your vision, who believe in you. And, we have this saying at OGF, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. I started OGF really fast, but it wouldn't be where it's at without my team.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's why there's 4 of us sitting here today too.
Yep.
For that very reason.
Right.
We would be a lot faster. We're all busy guys. We got a lot going on, Like, we would, if it was just me, I could have churned out 6 episodes in the last 8 weeks.
Episode 10.
Yeah, exactly,
Episode
right?
10.
But I think for the sake of consistency and accountability and all of those things, like, it takes a team. It truly takes a village. So that resonates.
We were also working on producing something of high quality, right?
Yeah.
So that takes time too.
And some of us, like, aren't all on the same page when it comes to communication. Like, I'm a really bad texter, but when I show up, I perform. So that's all that matters. But yeah, it's been tough, but you make room for stuff that's important to you.
Definitely. Dude, I find communication to be so challenging. Like, notification fatigue.
Well, especially when you work all day and you have a tech stack that is like 6 different CRMs. Dude. And you have Slack and Teams and Zoom.
Can I add to that real quick about communication?
Yeah.
So they did this study at the University of Chicago. They did this study for 20 years, and they partnered with the YMCA Education for Adults. It's a long thing.
Invigorating.
Yeah, but for this 20-year study, they wanted to know, after 18 years old, after most humans get out of school, high school, some go to college, what do people want to continue learning, or what do they want to improve at outside of math, or arithmetic, or whatever? What do humans want? And there's 2 main things. The first one was health. Mental health, physical health, emotional health. They want it to be healthy. Where I'm at right now, I need to improve on my health. We all think about it all the time. Some people different more than others. And the second thing was communication. I wanted to have better communication with my relationships, whether it be coworkers, spouses, humans, a social life. I wanted to be able to communicate better with humans. And I think that's, not to make this all about OGF or what we're doing, but at OGF, we pride ourselves on 2 things. We're going to get you fit in the best shape of yourself, best shape you've ever been in. And then you're also going to be in a community of people who care and have a similar goal. I mean, the world's so crazy right now, whether it be politics or things we see on social media. But when you come to OGF, all that's put to the side. Everyone just shows up ready to work and improve. Mm-hmm. And you should see that. I mean, you guys know this firsthand, but the way people foster each other, they're willing to help each other. When there was a hurricane, people were ready to show up and show out, and however we could support. So I think building those 2 things has made it amazing. And communication is hard, but it's something that needs to be worked on every single day, whether it be communication with ourselves, how we start our day, communication with our teams, communication with the people we see, the people we hang out with. So I agree it's hard, but man, like, it's something we should never not pursue doing better at.
Yeah, it's not a surprise that it's number 2 on that list because it is hard, but it is crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the age of social media and texting, you know, it seems like it should be so easy, but it almost makes it harder.
I haven't opened Instagram. Like I've opened Instagram maybe 5 times over the last week.
Wow, that's awesome.
But it's more so. It's not because I'm like telling myself stay off social media.
It's a dopamine detox.
It's that, but it's also like I don't know. It's scared to open it. Like I don't want to. I put my stuff up there and I turn it off because there was
Sucks your energy.
Yeah, it sucks energy. I have the misfortune of having a X account too, which is like what Twitter was, and I can't.
Misfortune.
Like, yeah, no, for real though. I can't scroll maybe 20 minutes, and then I notice my mental well-being diminishing because of the amount of stuff that like is on there. So I like what you said about when you go to OGF, you're there, and there's not everything else.
You're present.
You leave everything else at the door, and I don't want to say I want to, but applying that philosophy to life is important. Like I'm relating this heavily to the social media aspect of it, but I don't want to like specifically target just social media because there's everything else. There's work, there's jobs, but I'm going to use social media as a big example. Like controlling things you can control is a big thing that I can relate it to social media wise. You control how happy you are. You control what you compare yourself to. You control who you talk to, and making sure that you control what you can control in a way that benefits you mentally is something that I really got out of what you said. Giving time to yourself, having a day where it's like I got all this done and I'm really happy and stuff's going on, and you don't even open social media. Like you don't even open it and you feel happy. It's like I got all this stuff done, and not once did I look and see what other people are doing that I'm not doing.
You know, I think about social media too is you're either a producer or a consumer.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's only so few producers and way more consumers.
I attribute it to that. I get caught up. I mean, I bet all of us get caught up once in a while. Not even once in a while. Like they just
couple times a day.
Caught up in consuming, and that is something that like producer or consumer. Be a producer. Put your stuff out there. Close it. Go do other stuff throughout your day. That don't let it affect your mental peace. And that's a big thing that OGF does.
Plug.
I know you wore all your merch, but being able to plug your your business is like you go there, everything else is cast off to the side. And I like when I'm able to get out there, whether it's evening, whether it's morning, it's like I go there and I have clarity. I'm like, okay. I mean, I think that's just working out.
Sure.
But like you have clarity. I was with community. I not only exercised my actual like physical body, but like you're saying, communication takes time. It takes repetition. It's skill.
Found his girlfriend over there.
Yeah. Like I worked out my communication muscles, and I worked them out by actually talking and not looking on a screen and typing and scrolling.
Right.
And it's a huge thing.
I would think that the fact that it's outside actually cultivates that as well, that feeling of
100%.
presence. And, you know, because when you're inside, there's screens, whether it's ads on a TV or
Fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So when you're outside, you really feel that sense of presence.
Well,
and
being able to I think sunlight is probably the most important vitamin that you can
That's
get.
the most important thing for your eyes. First thing in the day.
I think sunlight.
It's crazy. You have the worst vision.
I think sunlight's huge. I think grounding. Like I like to walk outside barefoot in the grass sometimes.
oh, heck yeah, man.
Because like
Embrace your inner hipster.
It's not even that we're inner hipster a little bit, but you're dressed like one, by the way. Just looking at you.
I ground.
You
What can I
ground
say?
before. I could see your flip flops too. You made sure to ground. No. It's not only we're like this is gonna sound hippie, but we're like vessels. I believe that we're vessels. I believe that we are connected to Earth, and I think that it's important to be out within nature, be out within the elements. And it provides a mental boost. And that's a huge thing about being outside and working out outside.
It's not for everybody, but I mean,
No.
however you guys see the value, everyone portrays it a little bit different.
Yeah.
Sure.
But from my own eyes, what I've seen is, I'm sure maybe a lot of gyms can relate, but specifically at OGF, you know, we say this all the time, but you can't control the weather. You can't control if it's hot, if it's cold, rain, shine, snow. But what you can control is your effort, your attitude. If you show up, if you actually put forth a moment to actually take the time and improve on yourself, you control that. It's 50 minutes. You decide if you want to come. But the people who show up consistently despite the weather, outside of the gym, we call it the non-controllables, traffic, your boss, your spouse, whatever it may be, you don't let that affect you from what you're doing. You show up with your consistency, your attitude, and your effort. And it's evident. The people who are succeeding, who started from nothing and are now succeeding at the gym, it translates in their life too. Their business, their relationships, everything's flourishing. Did I say that right? Flourishing?
Yeah.
Flourishing.
It's beautiful. But whatever the weather, we get better. And this isn't just to promote OGF, but man, outside does that to somebody.
Yeah. And you can definitely, and like, you know, I'm calling y'all out. The ones that do fall off, we know exactly who you are.
Man.
What was I gonna say? It was something you said earlier, Caleb. That
Maybe it'll come back.
I'll think of it.
Maybe it'll come back.
I'll think of it.
What we're talking about being outside and being present and stuff. I don't know if you guys have ever surfed,
No.
but that's I learned to surf when I was working in Hawaii, and it's become my favorite hobby. You can't do it much in St. Pete over here in the Bay, but man, that's one of the reasons I love it so much. Is like phone does not come with you.
Yeah.
Vape, Zyn does not come with you. You know,
Yeah,
like
it
you're in the sunshine, you're in the waves, you're on a board. It's nothing but
Dude,
you and the universe, and it's
Our
beautiful.
cell phones are scary, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
they've caused like so many different type of addictions that people didn't even know they could develop.
It all goes back to just one thing, and I think that's I'm under the impression, especially since being in rehab and how they explain it to you, I do believe that rehab or that addiction is an illness. But I think it comes from one thing, and that's dopamine, like you were talking about before. And dopamine is going to take different forms as society progresses. So, I mean, I guess for us, it's fun. I think being able to control that. But I'm gonna pivot that real quick because I actually just remembered what I was going to say.
Go.
And it's that, especially with you here, working out is if you're like struggling to know where to like start or find purpose, working out, it's huge. Like having. Like we kind of talked about it earlier, but having that foundation of like, I've worked out for 6 months straight. This is how good I feel. I've lost weight. It's huge. It's a huge snowball effect to find your purpose. And that's how I found my purpose. You know, it's, I don't know where I'm going.
Me too.
I
talked about it
I
earlier.
heard this, I don't, maybe because I'm in the gym space, but I seen this article and it said in 2025, maybe it was 2030, it's going to be more rare to find a healthy person than a millionaire. I mean, you heard the six-pack thing before, right?
Yeah.
But now it's just a healthy person, and I'm sure we all can define a healthy person in different ways. But the thing about the health and fitness space is that, I mean, we live in a world of everything's instant. Instagram, Instacart, Insta whatever, you know, microwave food. You can go to the store and get whatever you want to eat right. You can order something from your phone on Amazon and have it to your porch before you even get home.
Couple hours.
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
Fitness is one of the few things where it's like, all right, you're going to start today. You're going to show up for the next five days out the week, and you're going to eat healthy, and maybe you'll see results in 3 months.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you take some time off, it's not going to happen.
It's like the last bastion of whatever the word for the opposite for instant gratification is.
Delayed
gratification.
It's like one of the last bastions of delayed gratification. And you definitely start to notice it more and more. These guys that are on like the wellness podcast, the self-help podcast. I mean, the millionaires you see around, that everyone has different views on ethical ways of making money, but the millionaires that have made their money in ethical ways, you see them, they have a certain archetype. They're fit, they have routine, they're consistent with projects. they care about their health. And I think it's definitely the gap's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because it's going to be so much easier as time goes on, especially as we get into the middle of this decade, end of this decade, where you can do nothing and be fine with it. Like, there was something I read about purpose and how the age group like Generation Z, the mental health level has been the worst it's ever been. I guess I think it's because we can track it, and it's caused by lack of purpose. Like they're saying, I don't feel like I'm contributing to the world, or I don't have a life's purpose, and it's huge. Like I think having a purpose is going to be massive. I think that's the big like culmination of this episode. But having a purpose is going to be massive going forward.
Yeah. To sum it up, if you want to change your life, start by working out.
Yeah. That's perfect. I don't know if I rambled through that,
Yeah.
but
that was great.
if you want to change your life,
good.
work out.
We're in an era now where like you can literally monetize good looks, and like
Yeah.
I mean
Half of it's fake.
even my CEO says like the new flex for me is like a fit person, and you know it goes a lot saying like, you know, becoming fit and like being somewhat like I've heard this saying like you're not ugly, you're just fat, and it's kind of true, dude, because like I always grew up thinking like I wasn't that good looking. You lose a bunch of weight and you're like, wow, like I'm really not that bad looking.
I'm
right?
hot.
Yeah, no.
What?
But like it's true, man.
First impressions are so big too.
They are.
Yeah.
They really are. If like, you know, you're not like, you know, dressed a certain way or look a certain way, people judge you within the first 30 seconds of them meeting you.
Well, if someone's fit too, I'm you know, maybe once again I'm in the fitness space, but if someone's fit, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this person's disciplined, they have a routine, they take care of themselves, they're able to show up maybe when they don't even feel like showing up, they're able to do all the right things. That's a good first sign.
Well, I mean, I think people are also unhappy is because they're normalizing all this stupid. I mean, and I'm gonna do push-ups for this, all this bullshit. Like, I don't know why we're normalizing being fat. I don't know why we're normalizing
20, yeah.
like, you know, overweightness or like, you know, all this other stuff. It's not healthy. All these people who glorified, you know, force feeding themselves and being fat are dead. I mean, and I know you know the reels I'm talking about. You know, like being healthy and taking care of yourself and like actually contributing to society is like the ultimate thing you can do.
Holding yourself to a standard.
Yeah. But like, no, I don't appreciate seeing a overweight person using a wheelchair just because they're fat. Those are for people who actually have disabilities, and being fat is not a disability.
Unfortunately, we're at a time in society where the rate of obesity is increasing faster than the rate of which people are getting fit.
Over 41% of the population is obese.
But-
It's raised 20% in the past 3 years.
If I must say, though, fitness is a lot like life. You get out what you put in, and that's why majority of people don't achieve their pinnacle. They don't achieve their highest version of themselves, is because it's not easy. Just like fitness isn't easy. Just like starting a business isn't easy. Like raising a family is not easy.
Yeah.
We're all men, but becoming the best possible man you could be is not easy. But it needs to be worked on every single day.
Yeah, it does. And that's what gets me fired up, is like this whole like sensitized, effeminate, you know, men that are like just mutants that are just walking this earth. Like the stigma of a man nowadays is, you know, the dad bod, not having hair, you know, shit like that. And it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Men are supposed to be hunters. We're supposed to be providers. We're supposed to take care of our spouses, take care of our household. And the women are supposed to cultivate the house and, you know, pour love into the children, into the family. And like now men, kids like, you know, Matt's age nowadays don't think that that's the case. They don't think they should pay for every meal or anything like that. Well, that's the standard, and it's always going to be the standard as a man. And nowadays, you have men walking around. You know, they're marketing ED medications to 20-year-olds now, because their dicks aren't working because of the shit they're putting in their body, and the drugs and the Zins, the nicotine, and all this crap, dude. I mean, they're watching so much fucking porn that they can't even approach an attractive female because they don't have any juice left in them. It's insane. It fires me up and it pisses me off.
Yeah. It should fire you up. Eddie, I'm grateful that you've been a part of the solution. You know, you know what I mean? Like,
It's not for everybody.
It's not.
not just owning a gym, but the way that you engage in your community and you ask people questions and you understand their why. It's the same thing that you train your employees to do. It's like, yeah, society's jacked up. There's a lot of problems, and it manifests itself as a bunch of fat people who don't have purpose and values, but like, what can we do as men with values to contribute and teach and mentor and things like that? And Eddie, I think you're doing that. So it's cool to have an example like that.
You're doing the same thing. You're with Pinellas Run Club, with Run Unlimited, with just this project, the Vanguard project. You're doing the same thing. I think we all are. So it's cool to be a part of.
Yeah,
That's a good, yeah.
Absolutely. The last 20 minutes have been the best part of this conversation for sure. I love it when we get on a roll, but just talking about purpose, creating, taking care of our temple, like that's why we were made. We were made. I don't want to dwell on faith too much, but I believe that we were made in the image of God, and God is a creator.
Right.
We were designed to create, not to consume.
No.
Right? And so when we are in that mode of creation, we are honoring God, but even outside of faith, we are being who we were designed to be. So taking care of our temple and creating, you're gonna find purpose through that.
And protecting,
and protecting.
And that's the thing nowadays is like a lot of these, gelatinous people walking around. I mean, they couldn't even, if something were happening in a crowd, they couldn't even step in and do anything. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that just boils down to us protecting people. Yeah, they're liabilities. If something were to happen and they needed to move, they couldn't move. I mean, it's ridiculous, man.
I was once a liability.
I'm still kind of am a liability.
Yeah.
Especially at night. It's
Well,
past my
I'm not
bedtime.
saying, you're a liability, but yeah. We've covered so much good stuff,
Yeah,
man.
we have.
Eddie, I got a few more questions for you. I've never asked you if you have a routine. You seem like you just kind of get up and do whatever workout calls your name and just go for it. But is there a routine to your life?
100%.
Yeah.
I think without a routine, I don't think I would be who I am without a routine, to be honest. So when I first wake up in the morning, I take a nice ice cold plunge. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like everyone starts with that. I could take the ice plunge. But for me, honestly, one of my biggest routines and what grounds me in the morning is diving into the scripture, like diving into the Bible. That's something I've always wanted to do better at. So it's been a big thing for me. But then I start my day with scripture and then diving into some sort of like book. I've been a reader for probably like the last 3 years now. And I do a good job trying to read every single day, whether it be for 15 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour. I think leaders are readers. And then note taking before you get the day started.
That's exactly what I do, man.
Yeah.
I wake up, take a little lap, a walk lap around my
Set the intention.
apartment thing, and then there's this nice little courtyard. I got a book I'm reading. Read the chapter, and then I take out my notes.
Reflect.
Reflect. Exactly.
Yeah, I've been a big, I'm not really so much a note taker on my phone. Maybe if I'm like talking with you guys, but I have a notebook I like to keep and just write down the date. What are some things I took away from the Bible and the book? And then also like, okay, what's my plan for the day? So I've always been a big planner, but definitely like exercise is definitely a part of my day. I need to work out in the morning, get the body flowing. I find that if I take the time to work hard on me first, empty that tank, I can then give my all to everyone else. Whereas I feel like if I don't start with me, unfortunately, I have that in the back of my mind throughout the entire day, and I can't be fully present with what I'm doing. Yeah, then after I work out, I'm dedicated to my craft. And my craft right now in this stage of my life is business. The gym is part of it, but also growing the gym to bigger than just this one location.
It's exciting.
Communicating with my team and communicating with things that need to be done. And then I'll squeeze another workout in. I'm passionate about it. I like to compete. I'm in High Rocks phase right now, and I got a marathon coming up. But someone has to lead the gym, and someone has to be the pinnacle. And I can't let my
Set
team
the example.
Can't let my team catch me. And then lastly, I like to finish off my day with at the end of the day, I like to hang my hat on. I did everything I could so I could then pour into my wife and my family. And I don't want to spend time with her, but still worried about, man, I could have worked out harder. I could have dedicated more time to the team. I don't want to be working on my business while I'm with my wife.
Yeah.
Even though we're business partners, this is wife time, husband and wife. This is not business time.
That's so good. Empty the tank. Back to that Shannon Sharp quote.
Yeah,
We love that
when
one.
you lay your head down on the pillow at night, did you give it everything you had? So there's another one I heard actually. It's called "Did You Earn the Sunset?"
Did you earn the
Did you earn the
sunset?
sunset? I don't know I forgot who said. I think it was John Cena that said it. And he said like you watch the sunset and you go, "Did I earn it?" So because every day's a gift, man. You got to make the most out of it.
That's legendary, man.
Yeah, I wanted to say this real quick too.
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
could. Like we were talking about the cell phones earlier. I personally, I'm okay with being on my phone.
Yeah.
What I found is that our phones are tools, and just the same way
Absolutely.
like you use a hammer, you can use a hammer to build a house, or you can use a hammer to hit yourself in the head, right? But that cell phone, I think we live in a day and age, depending on what people do. If you have the discipline and you time it correctly, okay, these 25 minutes are dedicated for me to create an Instagram post or reflect and do this, but I'm not scrolling after that, or I'm responding to messages. You know, with the gym, we have a lot of messages I have to respond to. But with that phone itself, we built a system, at least for the gym. We built a system for marketing. So I no longer have to be on my phone for the gym. We have a marketing team. So what's cool is that if we can learn how to use our tools properly and we could teach other people how to use those tools, you can get a lot of things done with that computer in your hand.
Yeah.
Just use it with intention.
Correct.
Don't just mindlessly scroll.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun. I'm gonna say it because it's fun saying it when like you're kind of sitting around with a bunch of productive people. But man, do I have to tell myself that when like it's actually like the moment it's happening.
Yeah.
Like because it's always
Self-control.
it's frustrating because you hear that little voice in your head all the time, and I guess getting better at discipline, the voice gets louder.
Like that voice saying, like, get off your phone.
Get off your phone. You got something to do. Not that there's obviously the other voice, but
Yeah.
the one that like is saying it's not what you're supposed to be doing right now. And when you've cultivated the amount of discipline that say you, Eddie, have like through being consistent with your routine every day, it's loud, and that voice like it's always yelling at me. And when I'm in that moment, it's like keep scrolling or you break off. So,
Dude, Nick Saban, if you guys know who that is,
yeah.
He says you're either spending time on things you should be doing or you're spending time on things you shouldn't be doing. And it's a fine line. Where do you put your effort at? He also says we all have 5 choices at any given moment. You can be bad at what you do. You can be okay at what you do. You can be good at what you do, and that's probably what God's intended us to do. Or you can be great or excellent. But in order to be great or excellent, whatever it may be, the podcast, the business, videography or photography or whatever it may be, if we want to be great, excellent or amazing or excellent or elite, it takes a special sort of focus, a special sort of effort, a special sort of discipline. Most people don't achieve those last two, and they can have all the God-given talent in the world. You could have the best equipment for photography. I could have the best physique for the gym. But if I want to be elite or excellent, I need to have a special sort of dedication, and that's understanding every second and minute of my day needs to be dedicated to my craft or what I want it to be dedicated to. It's like bullets. You only have so much ammo throughout the day. Where are you aiming those bullets at? Is it for what you should be achieving, or is it for scrolling through social media and looking at things you shouldn't be looking at it? So for one of the things I'm not perfect by any means, but for the people I strive to be like and emulate, I've realized they're so dedicated with all their seconds throughout the day because they have a bigger purpose. And if our goal is to inspire, to change the world, to stand out and actually do something meaningful, then we have to be meaningful with our time.
Yeah.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you both said that you start the day reading the word, reading a book, and taking notes, because both of you are guys that consistently are like quoting literature or bringing interesting in-depth perspectives to conversation, things like that. Like I can tell that you're doing the work early in the morning and that you're sitting in it and you're reflecting on it. And it's so interesting that if you spend every single day doing that, it becomes apparent. It becomes a part of who you are, you know, versus
Compound
if you're
effect.
I honestly am guilty of like reading 10 pages a day just for the sake of reading 10 pages a day. You know, I really have to stay disciplined in like taking notes, highlighting, like reflecting on it. So, and when I do, I start to talk about those things in my daily life, you know? So, keep doing what you're doing because it literally is coming out of your mouth. So,
Yeah, man. Leaders are readers, dude. But
absolutely.
I think also too, like, I don't know about you when you're reading, but sometimes it'll take me like 30 to 45 minutes to get through like 5 pages just because I'm highlighting, taking notes, writing on it, pondering it.
That was gonna be a question I asked. Like, do you do this? Like, you read a couple sentences and then you kind of reflect on like, okay, that's a good nugget of information.
If it's a good sentence, sometimes
Yeah.
it'll take me a whole chapter or
Yeah.
a paragraph. I definitely try to find bits and pieces of it, just because once again, like these are gems that I can either share with my team. Once again, I'm a leader, so I have to pour into my team as well, or just life lessons I can reflect on. Like, oh, that makes sense for next time, and I'll remember that.
Yeah, I'm a little. I don't know. I guess we're all different. So like, I'm a little different. Like, I read the chapter, I make mental notes of like, this was a good tidbit, and then as soon as I'm done, kind of processing the chapter, I like think about it for a couple minutes, see what was good and what wasn't, or what not what was good, what wasn't, but what I could take out of it.
What stood out?
What stood
Yeah.
out. I go back, I kind of skim through it, and then I write down my thoughts about the chapter in my notes, so I can go back and look at it. Like the how to win friends and influence
I was
people.
just thinking that right now.
Yeah, like I went through each principle, like, and I wrote like each principle in the book and what I kind of got out of it, because there's some good stuff that you can get out of that. And those are the types of books I really like the most, where they have like a lesson kind of for each chapter.
Yeah.
The book I'm reading right now, The Way of the Superior Man, is a little bit different.
It's a great book.
It's a really interesting book. There is some like ideologies that it challenges, and I can kind of see, you know, I kind of resonate with it a little bit. Like, there's masculine energy, there's feminine energy, and it doesn't really matter what vessel those energies take like place as long as someone is out there being the hunter, and as long as someone is out there being the nurturer. Like, that's just one cool thing that I've read from that book. But, you know, it's important to also, when your readers or leaders, read literature that challenges your own thinking. Like, not really on I mean, both sides of your beliefs. Like, read books on both sides of your beliefs. So, I guess bringing it back to what we were talking about, which is the after, gives me time to like kind of read what stood out, how I can remember it, and then jot it down, write it, and then I can just pull it out if I need to quote it.
So, you know, that's a great thing too about reading, is especially with that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You can read it and take things from the book, and then you can come back a couple years later and read it again, and it's almost like a whole different book, because you now come with different perspectives, or you might have missed something before, but now it's so relevant in your life.
Yeah.
So like Bruce Lee said, don't be afraid of the man who practices 1,000 kicks. Be afraid of the man who practices that same kick 1,000 times. Like, extracting the most out of things. I think there's such a, I mean, whether you're reading or you're working out or whatever, there's so much, I guess, like, people want to brag about all the different things they've done, but like, if we like really look into certain things, is their quality.
There's so much to be extracted.
I said it in the last one. I mean, the social media part, you don't see what went into it. You see the end product.
Yeah.
Especially like on the social media aspect, that's all you see. I mean, shout out to Ren again, but like people like her that like post, like they do the 75 hard challenge. You post every day.
Beast.
You can't. It's like you put it on a 24-hour clock. It's like it's gonna be there 24 hours later. So those are the people that you want to learn from. Like, those are the people that you want to emulate, is like the people that you see the amount of work that's put in. Like, you see as David Goggins said, you see the mornings where you wake up and you stare at the wall for 30 damn minutes. Why am I here? I hate what's going on right now. But you see the people that go through that. and that power through that.
Do we admire people who make it happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't admire people who talk about all the things they're going to accomplish.
gonna
You admire the people who
Yeah.
have done it.
Work in
Do it.
silence. Work in silence. That's how I like, for me. Like, everyone's different, but for me, just do it, and then people notice after.
Let your work speak for itself.
Yeah, let the actions speak.
I always like this one, but it's like,
always risky posting 75 hard because you fall off.
You might fail.
Yeah, like, what happened on that?
That's actually one of the things I've heard is like, don't post if you're going to do it.
you do what you want.
Yeah, you do what you want, of course.
But I mean, that doesn't, not even 75 hard.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to accomplish something, don't really tell people you're gonna do it. Just do it, and then if people ask you, like,
That's honestly like being not being like almost a 30-year-old like male and going to talking to like leadership groups and stuff. You can always tell like the older successful or quote unquote successful businessmen who like talk about what they've done or like who they know or anything like that, but they're still like doing the same thing they were like 30 years ago. So they're full of shit. So like, yeah, that's what I look at it too. If you talk about it, you're not about
You
it.
ever heard that quote? It's like, once again, quotes. This is what we do. But the actions are responsible for the results.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, like, that's all that matters is the results. But let's see the actions.
I think it's the simple equation of life, and I think this is what life is based upon: is input is equal to output.
I think
Kobe Bryant wasn't shooting free throws at 2 a.m. for nothing.
No, exactly. I mean, exactly. Like,
I think this was a great episode though.
I mean,
Yeah.
You got more? You got any more?
Yeah, we've been filming or
Wow.
shooting for a while. I know it's past Austin's bedtime. Eddie, last one for you, and then
Sure.
you guys, if you got anything else. You do the most.
Mm.
You posted a podcast recently about people saying you do the most. It was good stuff. And I agree with you. But I'm wondering how you balance rest, enjoyment, that time to restore yourself and your mind with all of the things that you're working on. Like, how do you find balance? And is balance even important to you?
Dude, I think everyone has like a different opinion, which is great. But for me, when I say do the most, it's maximize. We talked about this, but maximizing the amount of effort that I'm giving at the current time. So, for example, like, I'm not on my phone, right? Like, I'm here, just present with you guys, because I've also known everything else I had today. I gave 100% at the task at hand. I wasn't thinking about the podcast when I was meeting with my team earlier. I wasn't thinking about the gym when I was with my wife earlier. Like, I'm in the moment, and I'm not perfect every single time, but
Sure.
I found that more often than not, if I'm maximizing my attention, my energy, my focus, my efforts, that what I get out of it is so much sweeter and greater than if I only gave minimal effort. And I have noticed the change in my life from going from adolescent to now business owner and growing the gym to over $1 million per year, which it's a great start, but once again, doing the most is growing beyond that.
It's almost like doing the most is what allows you to rest when the time comes.
Yeah, 100%. Have you guys seen The Last Dance with Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
There's a scene in particular that always stood out to me. I don't know if you guys caught it, maybe you got the same feeling, but there's this scene of Michael Jordan. He's doing chest passes with one of his coaches, like assistant coach. He's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you look at him and the focus he had, the drive, the effort at which he was passing that chest pass. Anyone could just lobbed it back and forth. But Michael, after that, said, why I was so great is during the fourth quarter, I was focused on the fourth quarter. Or during practice when we're doing chest passes, I was focused on doing chest passes. But most of the time, people are in a moment, but they're focused on the next thing. And a lot of guys I played basketball with, this is what he said, a lot of guys I played basketball with during fourth quarter when the game's on the line, I'm focused about getting the game-winning shot, and you guys are focused on what restaurant we're going to go eat at after the game. We're focused at when I'm focused on working out, some people are focused on their career and their job or checking on an email or on their phone. When I'm with my wife, I'm focused with my wife. But when some people are with their significant other, they're focused about their phone or they're focused on the things they could have done. But if we're giving 100% to the task at hand, you have no regrets. and if you can maximize the amount of potential you get out of a certain moment, if you stack that up over time, effort, consistency, what can be achieved from it? And that's the way I look at life, because it's been so relevant.
It's a compounding equation.
Yep.
Life, the effort, consistency is compounding equation because, I mean, I'm predicting where your future's gonna go. I mean, you want another location, so that 2 locations.
I want to be worldwide.
Yeah, like the 2 locations becomes 4 locations, becomes 8
Everywhere.
locations. So, like it's the compound. It's compounding.
Another, going back, I love sports. I feel like sports is such an easy analogy, just like working out. But Kobe Bryant said, if I want to be the world's best basketball player, I'm going to train multiple times per day. I'm going to train at 5 a.m., at 8 a.m. And if I train 3 times a day and my competition's only training 1 time a day, sure, the first season there might be some change. But if I'm doing that for 10 seasons, it doesn't matter how hard my competition works, they will never catch up to the work that I put in. It's that simple math. Yeah. If I'm training 3 hours, take away working out. If I'm working on my business 12 hours a day and you're doing a 9 to 5 and working in your part-time gig that's only 2 hours, great. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome. But I am far more ahead because I'm just simply putting in time and effort. And at the end of the day, like, hard work, effort, and time trumps all. Whatever goal we want, it's going to take those things to combine. So
it's at 1% better every day, exponential growth. As a coach, that's one of the things that I think is really important. OGF is structured so that things are timed. And at the end of a time segment, a lot of people, there's a countdown, 5, 4, and you'll see people give up at 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second.
Time.
It fires me up. It's like every time that I'm in that position, I'm going 1 second, 2 second, 3 seconds past the buzzer because I'm looking around and seeing everybody else quitting early. So like little things like that in every aspect of your life, you go that extra 1 second, you go that extra 1 training session, you read those extra 10 pages every day, like you're just going to continue to be better and better and better.
Dude, when people, we say this all the time. Am I good on time? Are you okay?
Yeah, what do you got?
We see it at the gym all the time with some new people, but when they're working out, what happens is they end early. Austin, I'm sure you see it all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Like you just said, counting down 3, 2, they end on 2. Simple math once again, but if you end 2 seconds early here on that exercise and then follow to the next one, and say you ended early on every single exercise and you wasted 30 seconds of your potential. You multiply that by 5 days a week that you go to the gym, and that's 150 seconds. You multiply that by a month, by a year. How much time did you leave out that you could have improved? But I find that we're all, you guys know this, we're all creatures of habit. If you end early at the gym, where else do you end early at? Mm-hmm. Do you end early in your career? Do you end early on your spouse? Do you end early on your whatever it may be? Some people say 75 hard, made it to day 30 and end because it got hard, right? People are operating at 80%, but hoping to get 100% results.
It seems silly, but it's so real. It's true. Every decision you make is a reflection of who you are and your character, right? And so even those little things, it's important to do them right. Mm.
Mm-hmm. I find people at OGF who finish consistently are the ones who are reaping the most benefits.
Yep.
Inside and outside the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. I see it everywhere. All right, boys. You guys got anything else?
Yeah, actually. So this will be the last one, I think, and then we can
do your thing.
Going back to like the mediocrity part we were talking about, how easy it is to be mediocre. How do you deal with everybody around you? Like, not everybody, because it's obviously who you surround yourself with is who you become. But how do you deal with everybody in like outside life, kind of outside of your circle? And I don't want to say like the powers that be, but media, everything, saying it's okay to be mediocre. Like, it's hard, it's a difficult way to word this question, but it's okay to be mediocre. And you have all those voices out there telling you it's okay to be mediocre. It's fine, like, being kind of pumped through college, get your 9 to 5, work your 9 to 5 till you die. type of thing. How do you negate all of that? Like, how do you keep your head down? How do you keep your head down and go through it when you see everybody else? Like you're saying, creatures of habit. People follow the leaders. People follow what is around them. Like, and you see mediocrity everywhere. How do you keep your head down and continue to be the best person you can be?
That's a great question. Right now, I'm living in my purpose and my intention every day. So it's hard to be mediocre when I know that my fullest potential is out there.
Yeah.
But at one point in my life, I was not living in my purpose. And I found that before the military, when I was working that corporate job I told you guys about, I found myself being complacent. I found myself being okay, being unhealthy. I found myself being okay working in a job where everyone was miserable. And I realized, like, if I'm not living every single day to my core values or my passion, that's where burnout happens. And when I say burnout, it's not from being overworked, but sometimes it could be from being underworked, in a sense of like, I'm not waking up every single day with doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And you talked about earlier looking in the mirror at yourself. But like when you look at your mirror, you look in the mirror and you can't make eye contact with yourself because you know that you're not who you're supposed to be. I've lived that. I lived that for probably like a year. But in the day, dude, when you actually truly find what your purpose is, there's some momentum there that every day, like when you wake up, you know what you got to do. And I think it's just seeking that purpose. It doesn't matter what other people think. In the day when you go home, how do you feel? I don't care what society tells me. I know what I feel. I know if I feel accomplished. I know if I feel not accomplished. And if I know what makes me feel accomplished, I'm going to chase that every single day. That's it. It's that simple. And once you have that figured out, once again, going back to do the most, I'm going to do everything I can to continue getting that same feeling. And I plan to, that's why I work out so hard. That's why I work so hard on my business. I work so hard on my relationship. Those things are important to me. And my spiritual life, something that's important to me. So I have purpose. And that's why also I think morning routines are so crucial, because you got to set the agenda, and it's up to you to meet that agenda.
Did you ever read that little tiny book? I mean, it was based off of the speech that the Admiral gave, but to make your bed every morning.
I haven't, but I
thing.
did watch that YouTube video like 100 times.
There's this little book that he wrote that's pretty, it's like 100 pages max. It's it's a good read. Kind of gives you more insight into that kind of mentality.
What about you? If I flip that question around, how do you turn off the blinders for everything else?
I think it's being resolute in my beliefs, like being sturdy in them and what I believe in and what I'm kind of representing myself as. Because, I mean, I hate like to say it like this, or I mean, as we go into the future, you're going to be your own brand. There's personal like branding now, and how you come across in private is how you're going to come across in public. How you come across when nobody's watching you is how you're going to come across when people are watching you. And realizing that and knowing that is how I wake up every morning with my routine established. I wake up every morning, do my routine. It's like, okay, what do we get into today? And it's not going to be the same for everybody. I think everybody's different. And there's obviously things that they can't control. Like everybody has their own afflictions. Everybody has things that are happening, but figuring out ways around that, figuring out ways that there's help out there for you. And, it's kind of going on a little bit of a weird tangent, but help out there for you to do, help out there for you. And using those tools, like using your support system is a big thing. That's how I kind of block out everybody. It's like, there's people that are there in your life that God put in your life that are there to be leaned on when you need to be leaned upon. You can't do everything by yourself. And having those people and realizing that, hey, I'm doing it not just for myself, but to do it for them. And
I might have to argue against that, though.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I think you guys, you're the baby of this group.
Oh yeah. So
I think with these two, like for example, we were just talking about this, like Caleb's story of like when he traveled and you're in different countries by yourself.
Yeah.
You're millions of miles away, thousands of miles away from home. You don't have someone to just lean on real quick. Okay. So what happens when that person isn't there? How do you stay aligned with what you're supposed to be doing when you're by yourself?
But I think the flip side of what you're saying is be the person that can be leaned on.
Yeah, that's how I kind of I like to say the Mr. Make It Happen. I do want to be that, but it's important to have I think I believe it's because of where I'm at in life.
100%.
Like like the age I'm at and where I'm at in my
Definitely a support system
in my life. But
Yeah.
I'm with what you're saying and with what I'm listening to is I'm sure a couple years from now that we'll be shedding it, not shedding it completely, but kind of where I can be my own independent.
You just have to be ready when if there isn't somebody there where it's okay, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And you'll eventually find the right people. But there's gonna be times where you're gonna have to like cut loose ends with people, or that chapter has ended
That's
with
hard.
that person.
No one's coming to save you.
It's you. You are that lighter fluid for where you want to go, and you're the spark.
And you also are the one that gets in your own way.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's true.
No one else gets in your own way except you.
That is true. That's good to hear.
We were talking about it on the way here and talking about travel. And the biggest lesson that I learned was, holy shit, 10 push-ups. I'm alone. It's like this crazy feeling when you are solo traveling and you're in Bali and your home is 2,000 miles away.
Alone.
It's this almost overwhelming feeling.
No one speaks the same language.
Yeah. You don't understand the culture. You don't know what the food is. You don't know
Comfort
where
of
you
your own
are.
bed.
Like all of these things. This is an extreme example, but there's gonna come a time in your life where you're gonna be confronted with those feelings, and you have to be able to rely on yourself and know that you can handle it. Support system is important,
Well, I know I can.
but you got to have both.
I will say I know I can handle myself in situations like that.
I know you can too.
I haven't seen myself in a situation where I'm alone like that yet, and there's not like a guiding force telling me what to do, but you have to be the one to do it. But I've been in situations where like, hey, my family's not here. I'm on my own amongst a group of people. I got to figure it out. I got to put the work in myself. I definitely can see that. So it was actually, it's good hearing that. Because another thing that I was going to say is what do you want your life to be in 10 years, even 5 years? Like you got to live that now, even if you don't have the fancy car, even if you don't have the wardrobe and the outfits and everything like that. You got to make do with your off-brand polo from Walmart kind of thing, and you got to rock it like you are wearing a Tom Ford suit. So
Law of attraction.
yeah, like you attract what you are, you attract. The energy you give off is the energy you get back. So that would be another way. But it was very good hearing about the sports system from you guys, especially.
The last thing I'll add on that is, although you do have to deal with it, it is interesting that you naturally look for your tribe in those situations. Like your human reaction is like your instincts is like, I'm alone. I'm going to find people that I can relate with, and I'm going to spend time with them. We seek relationship.
It's the prehistoric thing. Like that's how we survived back when we were killing woolly mammoths and dealing with saber-toothed tigers. Like that, they packed up, and like they grouped up, and it's kind of a weird history. I'm not gonna say weird because you're correcting me on that, but it's like a history lesson now. Like you notice the hunter-gatherers, they had their designated groups and everything like that. So I guess that's just who we were, and that's ingrained in our DNA. But I do agree with you there. It's like at some point you have to find individuality. I think there's going to be an emphasis on individuality as the years kind of come on, because it's going to be so easy to be a part of a herd now. What makes you different? What makes you special? What makes you unique?
As a leader, sometimes you have to stand alone.
Yeah.
As a leader, sometimes you have to be willing to go against the grain, and that's going to have the right people see that, if people believe in you and you show that you're strong, handling yourself, even if you're alone, someone's going to see that and think, you know what, like that's a guy I could follow. That's a person that I could look up to. That's a person I can lean on. But if you can't stand your own 2 feet, how can you expect others to lean against you?
There was a really good video. I forgot if I wonder if it was UC Berkeley or something, where a guy goes out to a concert and he starts doing these weird dance moves alone. And then it takes maybe like 5 minutes, like people saying, what is this guy doing? And then another one joins, and then 2 more join. And then a giant, like it evolves into a giant crowd. And it's like that all started from one guy not being afraid to go against the grain and be unique. And it's cool because that is applicable to literally anywhere in life. Like as long as you're unique and as long as you go against the grain, things work out. Well, and you apply energy, time, effort, and consistency. So
That guy was a Vanguard. Share at Vanguard Project Pod
on Instagram.
episode 2 in the books. Let us know your number one takeaway in the comments. And then we've had people reach out and tell us guests to have on. I love it. We already have a list of some people that we want to talk to. So keep that coming. We want to hear from you. We'll see you for episode 3.